Hey, it is Greg back again for VPEN. And what we're going to cover off on today is how to prepare for your medical appointments. So you obviously are going to need to get your medical questionnaires, all that documentation filled out by a doctor or whatever medical provider. But you want to make sure that you're going into those appointments with all of the information that they're going to need to fill it out properly. So we're going to make sure we cover off on all that today. Um, so let's get into it. So you want to make your doctor's life easier. Your doctor's going to be a busy person. They're going to have a lot of patients. They're going to have a lot of stuff to deal with. They are not going to know about VAC. They're not going to know about what you did in the military. Like if you were an artillery soldier or a bosun or an AVN tech, they don't know what that is. They're not going to know what you did. You're not going to know the kinds of things you had to do in your job that affected your health. So make sure that you have all that stuff ready to go to give to them. Um, you're going to want to prepare a written document provided to your healthcare provider. It's going to make it easy for them to know and understand, read it over. If they need to take the form away and fill it out later on, they've got a copy of that written document that they can refer back to, as well as when you're in there in the appointment. If it's written down, you're not going to forget it. If it's not written down, you're probably going to forget it. So make sure that it's written down. You're probably going to hear me say that about 45 times today because you're going to make sure that it's written down. It's not like it's some test that you have to go in and memorize all the information ahead of time. This is not an adversarial process. So make sure that you've written it down, and then you can sit there with the paper right in front of your face and talk about it in front of the doctor, and then you can go from there. It's going to make your life and their life a lot easier. So what do you want to bring? You're going to bring your causation narrative. So that document that we discussed in one of the earlier videos about describing why you think the military caused your condition. You're going to bring a copy of that. You want to bring your job description. So what you actually did in the military, especially the parts that you did, parts of your job that you did in the military that you think affected your condition. So for example, if you were whatever, call it in the infantry, and you have bad knees, okay, you want to say, hey, this is what an infantry soldier does, and don't say stuff like, well, we close with and destroy the enemy, right? Be like, hey, I'm out in the woods or other like austere environments, carrying a lot of heavy weight on my back, walking on uneven terrain. I'd often be outside for long periods of time. I do this, I do that. Don't say, oh, we do up, he sees me down. We would say, okay, we would. In order to do something called a section attack, we would need to get up, run a few meters, and then drop down really hard and get in a firing position, that slamming our body into the ground. And then we'd have to get up and do that again, and you do that every 5 or 6 meters for the course of the day. So describing that in simple terms that anybody can understand, and try to make that as obvious as possible. Okay, you want to bring your a list of your symptoms from the table of disabilities. And I'm going to go into the table of disabilities in a minute and show you how to look all that up. And then any other relevant information that you think is important for you, especially if you have a more complex condition, then you definitely want to write that down. Especially that's true if you have a consequential condition, right? If one condition is causing another, then you want to make sure that you're identifying that, and any other documentation you have maybe about the other condition, you want to make sure that's documented as well. You can see there in big bold letters, it says all of this needs to be written down. Why does it say that? It's because all of this needs to be written down. You're going to get in there, you're going to forget, or the doctor's going to forget, or somebody's going to forget. If it's written down, and nobody's going to forget. Okay, so let's get into the table of disabilities. So I'm going to show you how to find that. So I've got mine booked here. If you Google VAC table of disabilities, it's going to be the first thing that comes up. And then I recommend taking that and bookmarking it because you're going to spend a lot of time in here if you're doing this process correctly. So if you look down here, says big table of disabilities at the top, and then it's all organized under this table of contents. There's a whole bunch of chapters here. Okay. The first ones are all a little bit of like policy and that kind of stuff. You don't really have to worry about these as much. But as we get down here, you're going to see visual impairment, hearing, nose, dental, cardiorespiratory, hypertension, gastrointestinal, endocrine, urinary, musculoskeletal, malignant conditions, impairment of ADLs, neurological, psychiatric, skin, heme, whatever, it's blood, and then tuberculosis and additional pain and suffering. So those are all the kind of categories. You can kind of see it's organized by body part. So if you have something wrong with your stomach, it's probably going to be under gastro, right? If you have high blood pressure, it's going to be under hypertension. Something wrong with your lungs or heart, something wrong with your teeth or jaw, something wrong with your nose or throat, right? Whatever it is. For a lot of people, musculoskeletal is going to be a common one. Pardon me. And then psychiatric is where all your mental health ones are as well. So let's say I click on here on chapter 17, musculoskeletal. This will cover anything to do with joints. So, your shoulders, your elbows, your knees, spine, anything like that. And then you'll see here is the rating tables. So that's where you want to take a look here. I'm going to click on rating tables, and you can see they're all organized here. So upper limb, shoulder, wrist, elbow, so on and so forth. So let's say I'm doing a claim for my lower back. I'm going to scroll down here until I find spine. So I got lumbar spine, which is my low back, thoracic spine, which is your middle back, and then cervical spine, which is your upper, like your neck, basically. So my low back, I'm going to click here, table 1719, and it's going to take me down to this table of disabilities. Now, here's where I'm going to take out my pen and paper, or pencil and paper, or my, iPad, phone, whatever you're going to write it down on, but you want to make sure that you're writing this stuff down. So you're going to look down this list and you're going to identify the things that are relevant for you. Okay. Do you have pain present on a daily basis and or with movement? If you do, okay, cool. Write that down. I have pain on a daily basis, or I have pain with movement. Right? If it's pain with movement, give me some examples, right? Or pain on a daily basis, give me examples as well. Is it when you wake up in the morning, it's really bad and it gets less bad throughout the day, or is it get worse throughout the day? Whatever it is. Is it with movement? What kind of movement? Is it when you're walking upstairs? Is it walking downstairs? Is it going up a hill? Is it just constant throughout? Is it when you bend over? When you're standing up? Whatever it is. If you're sitting for a long time, those are the kinds of things you want to identify, so that when you walk into the doctor, you say, hey, I have pain every day, and this is how I would describe my pain. Okay. They're probably also going to ask you the severity of it, so you want to make a document of that too. But yeah. Okay. And then you can look for other things. So like you can see here, sciatica, or loss, an asymmetry of reflexes, sensory loss, and dermatomal pattern. If there's anything on here like, I don't know if I have a sensory loss and a dermatomal pattern, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to Google it and see what that means. Do I have that? Right? Then make sure that you write that down. So, for example, if you have sciatica, how often does your sciatica happen? And then give me some examples. So I have sciatica, it happens probably every 4 or 5 days, let's say, right? And I remember the last one was on this day. I was doing this thing, I was walking up the stairs and I noticed it, and then it lasted for a long time after that, or it was just that one time, or whatever, but making sure that you've written down the description of that. So when they say, how often does it happen? You can say, hey, it happened on this day, it happened on this day, and it happened on this day. Those are the last 3, 4, 5 times that I remember it happening. So yeah, it probably happens every 4 or 5 days, or whatever it is. Okay, then your doctor can write that down. If you just walk in there and then they say, how often do you have sciatica? And you go, I don't know, probably, then you're just setting yourself up for failure, and you're making your doctor's life more difficult. So make sure you have that all, and it is, again, written down. So you can say, hey, these are the last 5 times that I had sciatica. I'm making sure that I'm communicating that with the doctor. The other thing you want to be mindful of in here is there's stuff that is relevant in general, and it's relevant maybe for diagnostic reasons, and it's relevant for just for your quality of life and whatever else, but it's not relevant on the table of disabilities. So let's say you have a grinding feeling in your elbow or something, or a grinding feeling in your back or whatever. We're already here. And your low back. That's not on this list. They don't care if you have a grinding feeling in your back. They care if you have loss of range of motion, that you have asymmetry of reflexes, sensory loss, and dermatomal pattern, or relevant loss of muscle strength, and or how often your sciatica is. Those are the kinds of things that they care about here. They don't care about the fact that you feel a grinding sensation. They don't feel that, they don't care that that certain activities are more difficult as far as this part is concerned. They care about that other parts of the process. But you want to make sure that you're talk about all of your symptoms, but making sure that the ones that are on this list are the ones that you are making sure that the doctor understands are the ones that they're going to write down. Okay. So again, like my knees click when I walk up the stairs. It's annoying. I don't like it. VAC doesn't give a shit that my knees click when I walk up the stairs. What they care about is my loss of range of motion, my pain, effusions, and all those kinds of other things. But what they care about was what's actually on this list. Okay. So that's why it's very important to come to this table of disabilities in advance of your doctor's appointment. Find the things that are relevant for you on this list and make sure they're written down with examples. Okay, you're going to write down what it is. You're going to write down some examples of when it's happened or how frequently it's happened or whatever you think is relevant there. And you're going to make sure you have that when you walk into the doctor's appointment. Okay, so a couple more on this front. Let's say, for example, I'm going to go back to the main table of disabilities. Let's say you have a cold weather injury, you've had frostbite, and now you have hypersensitivity to cold. You're going to find here other impairment, frostbite, immersion foot, and cold weather injuries. You're going to come down to this list here. Where are we at? All right. So now we come here, other impairment, frostbite, cold, immersion foot, and other cold injuries. So you've out in the field, froze yourself, and now you have hypersensitivity to cold. So that manifests as pain and discomfort, color changes, or changes in sensation. So, numbness, whatever else. So when you are exposed to cold, right, do your hands hurt? Do your feet hurt? Color, do they change color? Do they turn like yellow or some other unnatural color? Do they you lose feeling or the diminishment of feeling, stuff like that? Okay, so again, so whatever it is, on mild, moderate, and severe, or severe with permanent changes or whatever, you're writing this down. So how often does it happen? How did it feel? Did you lose feeling? How bad was the pain? Was the pain so bad that you couldn't do X, Y, and Z, that you had to, whatever it is, writing that stuff down and making sure that you're telling that story so the doctor understands. So when you walk in there and say, sometimes my hands hurt when they get cold, they say, cool, tell me about that. You're not just sitting there going, I don't know. You actually have, okay, you know what? Last Wednesday, I went out and I shoveled my snow, and this is how it felt. This is what happened. This is what I had to do as a result. So on and so forth, identifying that. Okay, how much did it hurt? All right, was the pain mild, moderate, or severe? Did you lose feelings in your hand? How long did a feeling take to come back? You're documenting all that stuff so that when you go and talk to the doctor, again, it's written down. You've talked to the doctor. It's now there, available for them. Okay. All right. So again, same sort of thing for all of these. Some of them are a little more complicated. Like let's say we go with gastrointestinal. I find the rating table here for, let's say, stomach. If you have diet alterations, or if you have like a recurrent peptic ulcer disease requiring intermittent treatment. I don't know what that is. Maybe if you have that, you'd know what that is. But you want to make sure that if you're not sure about what something is, right? If you think you might have it, you think you don't have it, whatever it is, just Google it, find out if it is one of those things that's relevant to you, and make sure that you're documenting it. If you don't know if something's relevant and you're not sure if it's on this list, document it anyways. Make sure you're telling the doctor about it, which you should be doing anyways. But I'm just saying, in the context of, there's two things that are happening here. One is you're getting treatment for your condition. The other one is you're doing an assessment for VAC. The part that's the assessment for VAC has very clear criteria that VAC looks at, which is on the table of disabilities, and that's what they're going to be determining your medical impairment by. And then there's the other side of it, which is your treatment and your ongoing relationship with your doctor. Okay, so for the assessment part, you want to make sure you're driving home the specific things that are on the table of disabilities. For the ongoing treatment and care part, talk about it globally and symptoms as a whole. All right, they're almost two different things that are happening simultaneously. Okay, so last but not least, I'll quickly talk about the mental health one. That's Chapter 21, psychiatric impairment. Now this one, again, it's the same basic idea. You've got your 4 rating tables here. However, with this one, they're looking at all 4 of those rating tables when they give you your assessment. So VAC will take a number from the first one, number from the second one, third, and fourth, add them all together, and that's your medical impairment rating. So Same thing. You're going to go through this. Now you'll see here, you see a lot of these ors, right? If there's an or, it means any one of these things on here. If you have any one of those, right, then that constitutes 5% as part of your assessment. Um, if you have, like, let's say you have 3 or 4 of them, that doesn't mean you get 5 for each one. You just get 5 total. If you have 3 or 4 here and you have 1 here, they go by whatever the highest one is. So you'll get the 10 for all of these. So what you want to do is read these over and find out which ones they think are most relevant to you. So you've got your guilt and rumination, you've got obsessions, you've got slowness of thought and speech, suspiciousness, whatever it is. Identify the things that are most relevant for you, especially the most relevant in the highest category. Okay, you find the one in the most highest category, and then again, write down examples. So, okay, you know what? I've had whatever, persistent thoughts of suicide. I've had recurrent obsessions. I've had subjective to mild memory loss or concentration. Okay, writing that stuff down, identifying it, writing it down, and saying, hey, these are some examples of when that happened. These are examples of when I had ideas of guilt and rumination. These are some examples of when I had memory loss and concentration issues and stuff like that. Okay, so you're identifying that for your first category there, the thought and cognition one. And then you scroll down here to memory, emotion and behavior and coping. Okay, same thing. It's all ors here. So if it's any one of these things, okay, that's what they're looking at. So if you have, none in these 2 categories and 1 in these 2 categories, that's still 5. Okay, so you're gonna again go through this, find out, okay, do you have occasional depressive or euphoric mood, rare manic behavior, do you have insomnia, do you have whatever? You're gonna identify that, and again, write it down, and then write down examples of when that happened. Same thing with the next one here. Okay, activities of daily living. So do you need assistance, like either physical assistance or at least prompting and reminders in order to do your activities of daily living? And if that's the case, then you want to identify those and again, write down, give examples of when it is that you needed, some prompting or reminders with locomotion, like getting up out of bed, doing something. Did you need prompting as a reminders to eat some food, to bathe and or take a shower or cut your hair or change your clothes, whatever it is. Okay, last but not least, treatment needs. This is mostly going to be decided by the doctor, so you don't have to, or correction, your psychologist or whatever. They'll decide what sort of treatment protocols are relevant for you. So it's less important to identify that, but do you need ongoing treatment? Odds are they'll say yes. Okay, so that's the main thing for the table of disability. So you're going to, again, writing that down, recording it, documenting it, and then giving examples for each and every single one of those so that when you walk into the doctor's office, you've got all that information there. Again, it's especially relevant for if you've got, you're walking into the doctor's office and you maybe have 5 or 10 minutes with them, making sure that you're using that time as effectively as possible and giving them all of the information they need in order to write down and complete the form and document everything else. Okay, so we've also created a form here that'll help you prepare. That'll help you sort of act as a reminder for this. Okay, it's got your basic tombstone data in there, your provider's name. And then the first one, like we already talked about, is your symptom tracking. You're going to write down, okay, you've gone to the table of disabilities and you've identified your symptom, how frequent it is, and any notes you had. So that'll be like your examples and stuff like that. You can include that stuff in there. This is just like you don't have to use this form specifically. If you want to just use it as a reminder and write it down for yourself, you're more than welcome to, but it's there to sort of help you go over that. Okay, the other thing I talked about is your causation narrative and your career, right? What did you do in the military? So ideally, you want to take your causation narrative, what you've written and provided to VAC, either already or what you're planning to give to VAC, either a draft of it or like the final version that you've already submitted, and you're going to copy and paste it or write it down in there. Okay, even if it's just the point form notes or whatever, making sure that you're including that as much as possible. Okay, the other thing is you want to include what your job description is. So again, your doctor's not going to know what a bosun is. Doctor's not even going to know necessarily what an infantry soldier is. They might just think, they saw a couple movies and they think that's what it's all about. Okay, so making sure that you're writing that down and documenting it and what your day-to-day activities were like, especially the parts of your day-to-day activities that you think contributed to your condition. And again, writing them in plain language, not in Army speak, not in Navy speak, not in Air Force speak. You're using plain language that any normal human being can understand. Okay, your any other medical information, you can put that on there as well. As well as any other past medical stuff that you've got here. So if you've already had some imaging, some medical records, anything like that, you want to put that and put the notes in there, and you can record any other additional tests that you've done and stuff like that. And yeah, so last but not least, there is something called the well, let's get past it here. The benefit of the doubt principle. So if your doctor is concerned about whether or not they, if it comes down to they're not sure that the military is the cause of your condition, and they're worried about saying that they think that it is because they're not 100% certain. They think maybe it's likely, but I'm not sure. Let them know about the benefit of the doubt principle. So what VAC says is that as long as it's more likely than not, as long as it's on the balance of probabilities, it's likely that the military was the cause of that, then they will accept that as being the military's responsibility. So even if your doctor writes something as simple as, in my medical opinion, something like what my patient has, what you have, could be caused by their service in the military, or at least that their service in the military made it worse, then that's entirely reasonable and normal thing for them to do. So that's something that doesn't require them to stake their medical license on it or anything like that. So again, that's sort of the best practices for going in there, but at an absolute bare minimum, get in the table of disabilities, look at what is relevant for you, and document that piece of information so that when you go into the doctor's office, you know what you're talking about and you know how to explain what is going on, and you've got examples of it and it's written down. Again, it is written down so that it's ready to go. Now, if your doctor says, hey, can I have that piece of paper so that when I go fill out your form tomorrow and I forgot that what you said to me in this appointment, you can say, awesome, here you go. Here's a physical piece of paper. Here's an email. Here's whatever. But make sure that that's available. Make your doctor's life easier. If you make your doctor's life easier, they're more likely to fill out the form accurately, correctly, and do that in a way that's going to be beneficial for you. So that's it for this video today. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions or if you want to learn some more about VAC and how to do your VAC applications, please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody here at VPEN. Yeah, go drink some water, and then I'll see you for the next video.